Welcome back to Linked by Golf, the podcast exploring the journeys of people linked by the game. I'm your host, Ross Maguire, and in this Masters Week episode, I'm thrilled to bring you one of England's greatest ever amateur golfers, Gary Wolstenholme. Gary takes us through his incredible experience of leading the Masters playing alongside Mr. Arnold Palmer. Let's go over to Gary. Gary Wolstenholme, welcome back. Third time we've caught up, and this time we're going to focus on the Masters. And your Masters appearances came from winning the Amateur Championship, which we've talked about already in a little bit of detail. But I'd love you to talk through those Masters experiences in 92 and 2004, Gary. I'm sure the listeners would love to hear it.
Well, you're now touching on probably my favourite subject. It's the best experience that I've ever had, particularly the first time, for lots of different reasons. But obviously, I played for England for the first time in '88, and it was quite a big jump for me to go from somebody that was just playing for England to now all of a sudden going into much more loftier circles, particularly the Masters Open, things like that, which by winning the amateur at Ganton allowed me to explore, how good I could become, I suppose, and certainly give me notoriety, etc. So it's funny because I just moved down to Bristol. I was working for a solicitor's practice called Ulsters, which David Powell, who was the head of the practice, he was a very keen golfer, played for Gloucestershire, and they'd had a Welsh international, Keith Jones, as their number one. And he decided he was going to turn professional. And I played David in the Midlands Southwest game. And we chatted, got on very well. And he then approached me to say, I'd like to offer you a job at the practice. It was debt recovery, which always amused me because I hadn't really got a great deal of experience on any of those sorts of aspects. But anyway, down I went to Bristol, and I joined Bristol and Clifton Golf Club. It was a proper job, but I was an England international, and they gave me time off to represent England. And obviously, I'd gone up to Ganton, playing quite well. Great summer. Course was burnt dry. So it was helping me because I wasn't the longest, but my short game was great, and the golf course suited me absolutely down to the ground. And things just worked in a way that I'd missed out on the Walker Cup selection that year, which was at Portmarnock, and Great Britain and Ireland had been beaten fairly soundly with a very strong team from the US, including Phil Mickelson. And it was in an era where every sort of other year, the Amateur Championship was played after the Walker Cup. So we had actually, for the last time, as it turned out, the whole of the US Walker Cup team, except Phil Mickelson, who'd gone home to play in some tournaments. And there were some big benefits, and there was a little bit of a hoo-ha because I can earn more money at home, and he didn't realise that you're not really allowed to. It was quite funny.
Whoops.
But anyway, well, sort of. But Phil was the only one that hadn't come across to Ganton from Ireland, and the way the draw had worked after the stroke play, it meant that, funnily enough, virtually all the Americans were in one half. It's just the way it works sometimes. So I didn't actually have to play an American up until the final. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I played some sublime stuff, particularly in the final against Bob May, who was probably the best American of that week, from the point of view of the Walker Cup. So it was quite a feather in my cap, but obviously quite tough for him to keep going for 2 whole weeks. Although I went down early, I sort of clawed my way back and then actually played probably some of the best golf. I think that the middle 18 holes from the ninth in the morning till the ninth in the afternoon, I shot 6 under with a double bogey, which is quite hard to beat, obviously, in match play. So I then get uh, taken back to the clubhouse. It starts to dawn on me that I'm getting into the Masters, and I get a bit giddy about it because, to be honest, it's always been the one tournament that, to me, romanticized golf at that level. So to get the opportunity, and you've heard the stories of obviously other amateurs that have been over to play the Masters, and it's that one tournament you see the same course every year. It's a bit like the Players now, but the Masters always was that course. You actually only used to get to see the back nine in those days, but I just obviously couldn't wait. Now I was then in Bristol. There were various people that I was associating with. That, like, there was a guy who was a travel agent, and he got me a business class flight out to Atlanta. And then because he was traveling in between Britain and the States quite a lot, he sort of showed me round. So I got to see a lot of the sights and sounds and opportunities to play golf through him organizing it. So I was very lucky. We played the Atlanta Athletic Club, and we played the Golf Club of Georgia, which was an amazing two-course design. It was still a new club in those days. They were building the clubhouse, but the golf courses were phenomenal. So I was getting some great golf. And then I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and played Shoal Creek. And I stayed with a fantastic guy, a real entertainer. So I was hosted by him. And I can remember the weather hadn't been terribly good that previous week, and I was sort of thinking, oh my God, if it's going to be as hard as this, I'm going to basically blow my brains in if I'm not careful. But loved the whole experience of the week before. Um, Getting to Atlanta, seeing bits of Atlanta, doing things that I'd never done before because I'd never been to the States prior to that. So to get that opportunity, play some of these amazing golf courses, which obviously you're under a little bit of pressure to perform as amateur champion. People are expecting you to sort of rip it miles and all that sort of thing. And so I loved meeting the well-to-do that were out there, the people that were obviously involved with these clubs, and obviously golf in the States is hugely expensive, so that they're always inviting you to do some amazing things, and you go to the best restaurants and everything else. So it was fantastic. Anyway, I hired a car and drove down from Birmingham, Alabama, down to uh, um, Augusta in Georgia, and of course you arrive on Washington Road and drive up to the, the gate, and they've got the guards there, etc. And Augusta is not the most salubrious of towns, or it wasn't in those days. And So you go from sort of you're sort of looking around thinking, really, Augusta's here, really? And then you go into the driveway, and there's this wonderful, sort of hedge, and then you've got the gates, and you drive up to the gates, and yes, can I help you? And he says, I'm playing in the Masters, and they check you off. And I always said to myself that I would drive very slowly down Magnolia Lane. Um, and that's exactly what I did. I drove very slowly. If anyone had been following me, they'd have been wanting to overtake. But it had this sort of arboreal sort of tunnel of trees, and then you could see that sort of light at the end of the tunnel, which I'm sure is something that they try to do. And there is a roundabout, which is very unusual in America, certainly in those days. and it has this fantastic planting of the Augusta logo on this roundabout with a flag, and then you see the white sort of colonial clubhouse, which is absolutely pristine. There is the one thing I will always remember about Augusta is that there's never anything out of place. There's hardly a leaf out of place. In fact, when my boss, David, who invited me down to come to Bristol, etc., he said when I won the amateur, he said, "Yes, I'll let you go to play in the Masters, so long as I can caddy for you."
Good deal.
Well, he's a good player, so I mean, it wasn't going to be an issue. So he was going to turn up on the Sunday, I think he turned up, and so I'd arrived Friday. And I was staying with a family down in Martinez, which is not very far away. So it didn't cost me anything. So I was very lucky. And again, that was through somebody I'd met, and his wife, her family lived in Martinez, so it was a very convenient again. So anyway, I've driven down to the clubhouse and I've signed in, and I'm signed in number two. So I was the first person because number one goes to the previous winner,
Right.
your badge number, that is. So I've got my badge number two. I've signed in, and I'm obviously the first person there. And so you get your keys to your car. I had a car, which was a Cadillac Eldorado, red leather, everything, and it must have been. I can't imagine how powerful the engine was, but when you consider that I had a light blue Astra, uh, Vauxhall Astra. This car was absolutely extraordinary. Now, apparently, they auction these cars at the end of the week, and you could probably pick up one of these Cadillac Eldorados for about $18,000. And I was thinking, oh my God, just imagine I could get this. It would cost me some money to get it shipped home. But I reckon I could probably sell it for about $40,000 because at least because of the fact that it's what it was. It was a car for the Masters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so I said, "Look, is it possible to get a caddy, please?" And I get allotted one of the black caddies that Augusta is famed for, and he was absolutely brilliant. His name was Washington. I'll never forget. He was absolutely a mind of information. He was brilliant, and had I been given the opportunity, I would have liked to have had him in the tournament because he knew lines, he knew basically within sort of 4 or 5 holes, he knew how to club me, everything. And we had such a laugh through the day. We then went and did the par three course, which was even more pristine than the golf course itself, which because it's very rarely played. And he taught me little tricks like because in those days you didn't have digital photography, so you didn't have your phone. You had to use a proper camera. And so he showed me how you could get a picture of the ball looking as though you've just hold a putt and you can sort of go like that with your fist. And basically, what you do is you stick two tees underneath the lip of the hole. You rest the ball on the two tees, and then you set the picture up.
Brilliant.
And it's it was just silly things like that that we had such a good time. And as I say, it's a shame in some respects that I hadn't had him for the tournament. Not that I don't think it would have made a huge amount of difference with regards my performance, but he was just brilliant, great fun to be with, and I really enjoyed his company. And then, of course, David turns up. So after that beautiful day on the Friday and Saturday, on the Friday when I picked up the car, I'm driving back to Martinez in this absolutely brand new red leather, white car. And it was at least 3 liters. It had to be. So I turned off Washington Road to go down towards Martinez. And I just thought, wow, we'll give it a little extra. Within literally 5 minutes of me turning down this road and putting my foot down a little. Bee-bar, lights blue. Oh my God. So I pull over and this cop gets out of his car. I'm not kidding you. It was the moustache, the black glasses. He looked like he'd come out of Chips. I mean, it was actually quite. So I've got out of the car. Now, apparently, you just don't get out of the car in America when you're pulled over. You just don't. But I got out of the car. So he's already on the defensive. So anyway, he's telling me that I was speeding and all that sort of stuff. Now, he must have either wondered whether I'd stolen the car, or if I was, he must have known that I was in the Masters because it's got Masters written on the side, Augusta Masters and all that sort of thing. But I was obviously very nervous, and I kept putting my hands in my pockets. And he said, "Don't put your hands in your pockets." So anyway, eventually, after like 20 minutes of ticking me off and telling me, he'll be watching out for me and all this sort of stuff, he lets me go.
Wow, there you
So
go.
I then drove 30 miles an hour all the way back to the place where I was staying. And so I've gone in. How was your day? I said, "Oh, it was great. I got stopped for speeding, literally, as I got off Washington Road." And they said, "He let you off?" As though I should have been in jail.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they do.
They so I've gone, that would have been an interesting story for the media.
Scotty Scheffler before the hand.
Well, that was another thing entirely. But anyway, so that was an interesting story for the week. So then, obviously, I had my practice Friday, Saturday, which was fantastic. David turns up Sunday, and so he's got dressed up in the overalls, which I always thought was quite funny that my boss was now wearing the white overalls and I was the boss. So we had a great few days. David was telling me about, because in those days it wasn't quite so salubrious for the caddies. Um, and Fanny Sunderson was obviously caddying for Faldo, et cetera, et cetera. So, it was, she had to get changed in a different place. It was all quite funny, but you had to wear the overall and the green hat and all that sort of stuff. So it was all very interesting, and I then had um, the obviously the international players dinner, which was a fantastic experience because Gary Player's hosting it. You've got I've got this picture of all the international players. It's not done anymore, sadly, because I think that well, two players didn't turn up to the international players dinner, and I'm not going to name names, but Player absolutely called them out. He said that's just not done. We're here at the invitation of Augusta National. You basically adhere to their rules, and one of the things is that you turn up for your dinner. But it was fantastic, great picture. Obviously, people like Woosnam, Langer, Sebi were all there. Sandy Lyle.
Wow.
It's a wow. It really is. It's a who's who of golf, really.
And it's
Um,
enough. I was going to say it's enough, Gary, just being the Masters, but then you've got these European and British greats that are, I'm sure,
oh,
heroes to you at
and
the
they
time.
were the greats because they were winners. Looking
Yeah.
like green jackets. Um, so then I had the amateur player dinner. Mitch Voges was the US amateur champion, and myself were hosted by Augusta National. And we literally, of the amateur game, the USGA, the RNA, past champions that were members of Augusta, all there. A fantastic experience. Speeches were made, et cetera, which was again an entertainment in itself. The food at Augusta is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
If you've been enjoying the show, please do remember to follow on your favourite podcast platform and share it with a friend. Now let's get back to the pod.
people often ask me why I didn't stay at the Crow's Nest or in the Crow's Nest. Back in '92, I went up to have a look. Very steep staircase to get up into basically the roof of the building of the clubhouse. And basically, it was a 8-bedroom dormitory with 6-foot high partitions between the beds, single beds, no air conditioning, glass round the sort of the sort of the pimple of the roof. I'm thinking, there's no way I'd be able to sleep in here. Not a chance. I'm a poor sleeper anyway, but noise, light, um, and it's changed dramatically. I will just qualify this, but at that time, that's what it was. Now, yes, okay, you'd mix with the other amateurs, and this would be fine, but it just wasn't for me. Apart from anything else, getting all my stuff up that steep staircase would have been a nightmare. But I think there are times when, because of the excitement and the adrenaline and the essence of what the Augusta is all about, it's quite good to divest yourself from it at some stage. So you get away and you're back into peace and quiet and normality almost, because it's almost like fairyland. I mean, you looking in different. There's all the rich and famous and the greatest players in the world. I mean, to me, it's the greatest championship, and you could argue all you like about US Open, the Open Championship, etc., etc. To me, it's the greatest championship of the lot. You've got the 90 best players easily in the world. And some people go, well, there's only 90 players. There's 130 or whatever at the US Open and the Open. You've still got the greatest players on the planet competing. And the fact that there's only 90 guys is immaterial. They're still the greatest player. And it is still the one, to me, it's the one tournament I would want to win, because you're then a member of the most prestigious club in the world. I mean, they could say, yes, being a member of the RNA. Well, yes, okay. But it's not like being the member of Augusta National. I'm sorry. To me, that is, I'll be down there every day. I've moved to America just to be able to live there, to be able to use that facility, because it is just the most amazing place. Anyway, that all said, so we've done the do dinners, and practice day, Wednesday. Mr. Jack Nicklaus wrote to me after I got my invite to say, would I be interested in having a practice round with him? Yeah, I think I probably would. Greatest player who's ever lived. Yeah, I think I quite enjoy that. And so we go out and we play a fantastic game. But I'm playing with David Begania, who was the US Mid Amateur Champion, an Italian that sort of had a bit of a mixture of whether he was American or Italian or whatever. But anyway, and basically Nicklaus and I took on him. I can never remember the name of the pro that I was also playing with. But anyway, so Nicklaus very kindly loses, I think, deliberately, so that he could give his $100 check to David Begania, which apparently no one has ever cashed.
Yeah, I bet they haven't.
So he plays, and will lose every time. I'm pretty certain he does it deliberately, so that there is this wonderful thing that you can frame for the wall of $100 check that you're never going to cash. So he never actually loses the money. Which unfortunately the other pro decided to take off me, and I haven't really got $100. But anyway, I thought, oh well, here we go. But so fantastic experience, and normally you then go on to play the par 3 competition, which I finished and then went. And Nicklaus was, I think he was slightly injured. So he said he wasn't going to play the par three that particular year. I don't think he plays in it very often, but anyway, so he didn't play, and I can't remember exactly who I played with that day, but I played decently well. I think I shot a couple under on the nowhere near winning, obviously. But again, an amazing experience because I think the first tee off time was about 1:30, something like that, and it goes on all afternoon, and they literally squeeze 30,000 people around this par three course. So the
I didn't
atmosphere
realise there was as
was
many as that. So
electric,
there's 30,000
absolutely
at the
electric.
par three.
Yeah, they
Wow.
literally because they've all gone to watch the practice rounds, and
Yeah.
then they all cram back to see the par three, which is one of the sort of the big things of the week. And if you ever watch it on TV, it's always 8 deep, 10 deep, every hole. And you get to see holes in one and amazing stuff, particularly now because they're encouraging the players to bring their children and they play the last hole and their children will hit a shot or whatever. So again, a hell of an experience. It's funny. I look back and apparently US amateur champions are allowed to go back to compete in the par three, or they were, every year if they wanted to. If I was US amateur champion, I'd be definitely going back to compete every year.
Yeah.
But I did ask if it was possible for me to be able to go back the following year, and they said no. So
You got a nice polite letter that said,
yes, a polite
not
letter
this time.
saying, no, sorry, it's only the US amateur champions that get the opportunity. So anyway, had this amazing experience of playing with Nicklaus. I've actually been fortunate enough to play with him a few times, but that was quite special because obviously the galleries were increased in size to be able to follow Nicklaus as still one of the great players. I mean, he'd obviously won the US Masters in '86, and he was still one of the names, like Tiger is now. Tiger will always swell every gallery that if he goes out to compete. So I've prepared the best I possibly can, and I've been drawn. They did the draw on the Wednesday, and I'm drawn with Arnold Palmer. Okay,
Wow.
I was a bit disappointed. I wanted to play with one of the current greats, but then all my friends were saying, "Don't be stupid. He is the king."
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
more I thought about it, I thought, well, yeah, actually, I am really looking forward to playing with him because obviously I watched Palmer in his heyday on the telly and stuff like this, and yes, he was slightly outside of my era as such, but he was certainly my father's era. Um, so anyway, um, I was really looking forward to it, and come the day of the tournament, I'm drawn at 10:30 with Mr. Palmer. 2 balls in those days, with a redraw after the first round. So you're done in score order after the first round, which I think actually is a brilliant idea, except it could favour people with regards to weather,
Of
possibly.
course, yeah. Yeah, so you're not
So
getting that switch
you
around.
could have, but to me, I think personally, I think it's the way to go. But that's just me. And of course, it's 3 balls now. But in those days, it was 2 ball. So I've got this intimate game with one of the greatest players who's ever lived in the game. Um, right, get there nice and early, do a bit of putting. Then I go on the range. Oh, Mr. Wolstenholme, you've got a parcel arrived. Oh, right, that's good. So this company that makes metal woods has sent me 3 woods, driver 3 and 5 wood. So I said to David, right, just bring the box down, and so I said, started hitting balls, and all of a sudden I feel this presence behind me, and I look round, and it's Seve. He stood there like this, and I've been hitting sort of 7 irons and stuff. He said, "Gary, you're going to have a great day," and walks off. Well, I'm I'm feeling 10 foot tall. Oh, come on, Seve, my hero, has just said I'm gonna have a good day. He's anyway. So I was hitting it actually pretty good. So I was pretty pleased with myself. I managed to get from Ping this extraordinary set of irons, which were beryllium copper Ping I2s with
Oh,
Apollo gold graphite shafts. Very eclectic, because usually, it was just the steel I2s with ZZ light shafts, which were one size fits all in those days. And so they were beautiful. Oh my God, they were beautiful, those clubs.
I hope you kept them.
No, you see, the sad part is when you upgrade your clubs they always want the old set back.
Right.
And I've still got, I think, somewhere a beryllium copper pitching wedge from that set, but it's got a steel shaft in now, because obviously I went away because the graphite in those days was just nowhere near what the steel was equivalent wise, with regards consistency. But I think I've still got that pitching. Well, I might still have got that pitching wedge still, but there was a very different feel off those. They were wonderful, wonderful clubs. Anyway, so I'm hitting these shots and it's all going nicely, and gone through the bag and hit a few woods, and so I said to David, just get those woods out of the box. So he's looking at me as though, have we got a bit of time? So I start hitting these shots. I get this little baby draw with these shots. And they were called Gear for Golf, tiny little metal heads. So anyway, I've hit a few, and I've got the driver out, and I've hit this sort of baby draw again. Now, you're going to say this is utter madness, but I said to him, right, we're putting those in the bag. I've only hit four or five shots with each one. Putting these in the bag. He's looked at me as though I'm completely off my trolley. So anyway, I've said, no, we're going to put them in the bag. So put the others in the box, and we'll take those. You can take those back to the clubhouse, and I'll go and do some more putting.
And you were using persimmon, or was it standard
I was using
ping woods at the time?
Ping woods. Yeah, it was woods in those days. It was laminate in those days. I don't think I'd progressed to metal woods at that stage. I tinkered with them, but anyway.
And how, in terms of you, Gary, I mean, you're very, very process driven. You're on top of stuff.
Yeah.
How unusual is that for you to just say, do you know what, let's just take these woods out? That's got to be pretty rare.
It would be for a driver. I'd normally need to use it a few times to feel comfortable in being able to take these out to play in tournaments. Same with putters. I have to feel as though I'm making putts before I start on the putting green, before I start even contemplating taking it out for competitive golf. But anyway, so that was it. And I go on the putting green. David's put the new clubs in. He's still shaking his head as he's come back. Anyway, I've said, right, Peter Alliss was my godfather, so I was very lucky to be able to get some good advice for him from him, who I've met up with earlier in the week. And he said, basically, Gary, when you stand on that first tee, you're going to be nervous. And what you've got to try and do is slow everything down, almost to feeling as though it's ridiculously slow. Practice swings, taking your time, putting the ball on the tee, which was probably good advice because you're so nervous that it's actually just putting the ball on the tee is quite a feat. But he said, just feel as though you're slowing everything down. It was the one thing that was in the back of my mind. So I said to David, right, I'm going to go down and stand on the back of the first tee, and watch the group in front tee off, get a feel for it, and so that I'm not getting too hyped up, just me getting onto the tee. So I go down to the tee, and I'm trying to sort of get onto it, and people are going, "No, no, yeah, this is my spot," And I've gone, "No, no, I'm playing in the." So eventually they let me through, go onto the tee, and I go up to the starter, who must have been 80, if a day. And I go, "My name's Gary Wolstenholme, and is it possible, because I'm in the next group, is it possible just to stand on the back of the tee and watch the current group tee off, just to relax me and get me sort of into the feel of what it's all about?" "Mr. Wolstenholme, not a problem. You come and stand with me at the back of the tee." So I'm looking around, and this is fantastic. Now, if somebody said to me, "Name the two players that teed off in front of you, and I'll give you £1,000,000 per person if you can name them both." Not a chance. I can't remember almost anything about that, because I was more interested in looking round at everything. The extraordinary thing about Augusta is that on the left-hand side of the first tee is a huge expanse of open grass, which is a warm-up area for the members, or was, um, for the members coming on. They'd just whack a couple of shots down there, and then they'd tee off. And then you've got it's a huge open area of grass. It's sort of belies a lot of the pictures that you see of the course, which are obviously tree lined with
Yeah,
huge
I was
trees.
going to say it's the sort of thing that you don't. I mean, TV coverage is notorious for not picking up on things, but that's something that you would have no idea until you stand in that tee, that there's this
Absolutely.
open space.
Yeah. You've got obviously the pristine white buildings and everything else behind to the right of you, and obviously the putting green was behind, and then you've got the butler cabin and all the other cabins behind that. So, but to the left, you look down and you can see obviously the ninth green, and then you can see all the way down to the 12th green. And you can actually see the 12th green and the 13th tee from off the first tee.
Wow, didn't realise that.
Now, don't forget that the course has sort of changed slightly since then, but it's the most, uh, you're awed by the whole view and everything else that's going on, because obviously there's spectators everywhere. There's about 40,000 people just for spectators. So anyway, I'm stood there, and you can obviously then look back. You see the big scoreboard by the ninth, which gives you, it's up by the 10th fairway, and then you can see the 18th tee back and behind you. Sorry, 18th green back and behind you. So again, a wonderful vista. I wish that you could have got a video camera and just panned across, which of course now you've got phones that can do that. So anyway, uh, whoever it was, no idea, teed off. And so anyway, the great thing about Augusta National is that whenever anyone of any note is starting to come towards where you are, you hear a hubbub, and it builds up because it's people nudging each other and going, "Oh, so and so's turning up," and it builds up because everyone starts to go, "Oh, look, look," and then all of a sudden there's applause and stuff like this. Now, I hadn't noticed that the gallery round the 18th green, sorry, the first tee and round that area, had started to build up. All of a sudden, huge cheers. Arnold Palmer bursts through the crowd, arm aloft, waving, soaking up the applause and the woohoo and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, he comes up the tee, age 63, and he is a gargantuan. He's a athlete, big, strong guy, huge hands, etc., etc. and he's not hugely tall. I was actually taller than he was, but he almost looks like a giant just by the way he's walked up. So of course, goes up to the starter, shakes his hand. The starter said, "Mr. Palmer, I have waited my entire life to do this." And Palmer turns to me and he goes, "Well, I'm glad we both made it then." Because obviously you can see he was 80 or whatever. So we have a bit of a laugh. And then the starter turns to me and he said, "Mr. Palmer, this is your playing partner for the day, Mr. Wolstenholme." Palmer immediately puts out this bare paw and shakes my hand. And he said, "I knew your father very well. He was a great guy. I'm really looking forward to playing with you today."
Nice.
Well, couldn't wipe the smile off my face, So anyway, he's then chatting with his caddy, etc. Right, 4 please. On the tee, Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer, age 63, with a steel-shafted persimmon-headed driver, rips it 290 plus yards straight down the middle. Crowd go absolutely bonkers, bonkers. And he's waving and then walks back to his caddy, and it starts to subside. And I'm looking around and thinking, "Oh, crap, it's my turn now." So I go across to David, who stood with my bag and my brand new driver, hands it to me, and he said, "For God's sake, don't miss it." Up until that very second, it had never occurred to me that I might miss the ball. It was ha 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 like this, but all of a sudden it's put in the back of my mind, actually could
I'm not sure
potentially
Washington would have
miss
had
the
that
ball.
idea. I think your
So
man
anyway,
Washington would have said, "Just go and smash it."
it's quite an intimidating tee shot anyway, because it sort of goes down and then back up. Got bunker on the right hand side, trees on the left, and I've got a lot of adrenaline running, and Peter Allis's sort of advice is ringing through my ears. Slow it down, slow it down. Anyway, I've somehow managed to get the ball on the tee, and so I go through my process. But I'm swear to you, it's gone like that. It's a blur. As I look up, I see the ball sailing straight down the middle, about 260 odd yards, which is way longer than I could have possibly expected. And I have got so much adrenaline that I literally start to run off the tee, because the crowd are all going like this, and I just it's almost as if someone had just, you know, put one of those adrenaline shots in your heart, and I was like, yeah, all of a sudden I've got to the end of the tee and realized that everyone else is looking at me as though, "What is he doing?" And I had to stop myself and wait for everybody to sort of, catch me up, if you like. But I must have run 20 yards. Literally, I was so excited that I hit this fantastic tee shot, best one probably of the whole day. The adrenaline obviously had a lot to do with it, but so we get down onto the fairway, and I'm a good 30 yards behind Palmer, and I've hit probably the best tee shot all year. And I've got a 5-iron in. So hit this 5-iron, and no, it was actually less than that. I think I had 7-iron. I was thinking, well, I've got adrenaline going, so I think it was 7-iron. And of course, in those days, it was nowhere near as long as it is now. The golf course, from when I first played in '92 to playing in 2004, had increased in distance from about 7,000 yards in '92 to 7.4 and plus. So it was very nearly 7.5 when I played it the second time. So pretty much it's lengthened again since. And obviously now they groom the fairways from green to tee, so it's not as pretty. I'm not kidding. It was the most pristine, beautiful looking, because they have mowers that do like red arrows
Yeah.
bits, and it was immaculate. I mean, David and I in one of the practice rounds tried to find first person to find a weed or a piece of grass that was out of place. We had to go slightly off piece to find a piece of grass that was not uniform length. It was even the pine needles under the trees are raked perfectly. It is the most immaculate golf course. It is pristine, and the greens were running at 13 plus in the practice round, and they got them down to about 12 and a half for the tournament. So anyway, 7-iron, I've come up short because obviously it was probably a little bit too little club. And I'm about 20 feet short, putting uphill, not a problem. Pins back left. Mr. Palmer's hit his 9-iron, which has gone past the flag, but he's long and left of the flag. So he's putting back down from probably about, I was 20 feet, he was probably about 12 and a half. So anyway, I'm not kidding, I was putting phenomenally. I knew those greens inside out. I had practiced for an hour prior to teeing off. I mean, I've got those greens. So I hit the putt, and it's uphill left to right. And it's just going to miss left. And I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, it's keeping going. It goes 6.5 foot past. So I've now got a downhill left to righter. Wow, really? So Palmer puts his 4 foot past. I miss, he misses. So we've both made birdie, having hit our best tee shots and good shots into the greens. It's that tableau of stalking up to the second tee. And the second, fortunately, is a par 5. So we had to wait because the group in front had just teed off, and obviously it was a reachable par 5 for some guys. So I'm stood at the back of the tee. Mr. Palmer stood at the front. David and the other caddies sort of stood off to the side. And you could have created a tableau with bubble going out of each person's head. Mr. Palmer, his bubble would have had, they always put me with an amateur. Why do they put me with an amateur? I'm stood at the back of the tee. My bubble would read, oh my God, I'm going to shoot 100. You know, I'm thinking, I've had a tough time at Shoal Creek because it's been wet. The course is playing quite long. And I'm thinking, I'm going to shoot 100. David, my caddy, bubble, I could have stayed back in the office, and this is going to be embarrassing. He's going to shoot 100. I could be making money back in the office. So we're all stood there for about 10 minutes. And so anyway, Palmer whacks one down. I whack one down, short of the bunker on the right-hand side. So good position, 5 wood down to leave myself a nice wedge shot. And I'll never forget, there was a guy sort of squatting on his sort of little seat behind the flag. So he was right in line with the flag. And I've hit this shot, and it's absolutely perfect strike. Little pitch shot, probably about 110 yards, something like that. And he's gone like this. I'm not kidding you. Apparently, it went right up to the edge of the hole and then screwed back to 6 feet. So crowd go, yeah, bonkers. I hole it. So I'm back to level par. So much more chirpy now on the second tee. In a decent tee shot down, just right of the bunkers on the left-hand side of the fairway. And I'm thinking, right, I don't want to start spinning the ball too much. I'll hit 9-iron and just hit a 3/4 9-iron, knock it up to about 14 feet, hole it. Oh, under par. Next hole, par 3 rather. Hit a decent shot onto the green, and 2-putt. 4th hole, hard par 4 for me. Very hard hole. So anyway, yeah, the fifth hole rather. Yeah, so I've got down to the par five, and I've hit two good shots, but on the green, and I hit two of the best putts. So anyway, it's funny because we were chatting away, and so we're getting down there, and David's getting sort of getting into the rhythm of giving yardages and all that sort of thing, because there was no lasers or anything like that. So I'm still under par for the round, and so the next hole, good par three, sixth hole, pins on the left hand side. Play a nice shot down, just lip out. Ooh, it was close. So we get to seven, and I play good tee shot, but it's only a short par four. Now it's a brutal hole. It's really long with an elevated green. Anyway, play a great pitch shot with about 8, 7 iron, something like that, onto the green. Goes up to about 8 feet. Hole it. Now 2 under.
And that's a tough green as well. Is that
It's a
not
hard green,
incredible
but
slope on it as well?
I played a great approach onto the right. A lot of the time, there's an element of luck. A, controlling the spin, B, getting it into the right area to give yourself a half decent chance. But I mean, as I keep harping on, I was a very good putter. So the greens didn't intimidate me unduly, apart from obviously the first. Interestingly, we then found out that what they do is they triple freaky the first green. Hence why I finished 6.5 feet past, because they make it faster than the rest of the greens. And basically, it's to disrupt you scoring.
And you see that every year, especially on the Sunday, actually, that there's so many people
But this is
whack
one
it
of the
4 and
reasons why
5, 6 foot back.
um, this experience is the people that have won there before or played a lot and done well invariably continue to do well. I mean, Langer's, he belied his age. A lot of the guys that, Freddie Couples belies his age when he was going back there in his 50s, and he's still making the cut and doing well with some good scores. Same with Langer. So anyway, so I then get this scenario of, oh, right, so that's why the ball's gone that far. But anyway, I'd soon gone back into it, and so I'm now 2 under, and I get to 8, which is a brutal hole. It's the steepest fairway that you can imagine. I mean, literally, it's caddies almost need a defibrillator at the top. So I've hit my tee shot down. I'm short of the bunker. I can't reach the bunker on the right hand side, so that's fine. Play a next shot up, and I hit 8 iron in, and I play it a perfect shot with a little bit of draw, so it skips forward down to the flag. So all of a sudden, I've got about another 6, 7 footer. Hole it. I'm now 3 under, having three putted the first. So anyway, we get to 9, and I've pulled my tee shot just a fraction to trying to get it to go down the hill. No chance. I've got 4 iron in. Now, when you see people playing that hole, it's all like wedges, 9 irons, 8 irons, something like that at most.
I
I'm
think
hitting 4 irons.
Rory smashed a 9 iron out the trees last year.
Right, well, there you go. So I'm hitting 4 iron in there, and I've got to come in over the bunker because the pin's sort of middle of the green, pretty much in the middle tier. And I've got it drawing round the trees beautifully, lands on the green, but of course there's no chance of getting it to stop. So it's now finished just off the back of the green. Palmer's played 2 great shots onto the green, that's fine. And I'm looking at this, and the analogy of marble staircase and trying to stop it halfway down, that's exactly what it was like. And again, I'm a good chipper. So anyway, fortunately, I play the most sublime chip probably I've ever hit in my life. And I've chipped it just onto the green. It's just checked up, and it's dribbled down to about 2.5, 3 feet, 3 feet. I am anyway, so I'm pretty pleased, as you can imagine. And Palmer comes up And as we're passing, he says, "Gee, that was a great shot," because he knew how hard it was as well. Anyway, so I'm stood over it. I'm thinking, please don't miss it. Please don't miss it. Anyway, fortunately, I hole it. So I'm pretty perky as I've come off the green. And some wag in the crowd shouts, "Don't look at the leaderboard." There's a huge leaderboard.
Just like your caddy in the first tee, yeah?
Sort of. So, of course, what do? You straight up like this. I'm leading the tournament.
Wow.
And I've got this picture of one of the people who sort of looks after the leaderboard on that particular hole, leaning out like this. And again, you could have the bubble coming out of the top of his head. Who the hell is this guy?
And why is his name so long?
Well, yeah, I think they go in a whole thing. They have to put each letter out. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm leading the tournament. And I'm feeling good. I have to be honest. I mean, I know that sounds pretty obvious, but you know, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was playing proper golf, and I was doing it all as I should be. So I get onto the next tee, don't quite draw the tee shot enough, and I'm stuck on the slope, and I'm having to hit a 3-iron in, and unfortunately, I'm on a downslope, but normally what tends to happen is if you're hitting a long iron in, because it's a long hole, it's as long as some of the par fives, the 10th, but obviously with it being downhill, it doesn't play it. But anyway, so I'm hitting 3-iron, and I've just cut it out into the right-hand bunker. Gutted. Play a great bunker shot out, which stops. Don't ask me how it stopped, because as I say, the greens are running pretty darn quick, and it's not an easy bunker shot, and it's crushed marble, the sand, so it's very hard to get a lot of spin. Technically, it has to be immaculate to get spin, but it's almost blinding actually. If the sun's out, it's almost blinding. You almost need to put your dark glasses on to play your bunker shots. But anyway, I played a good bunker shot out, and a lip out, and I actually thought I'd hold it, and it took the hole, did almost not quite a 360, but anyway, to cut a long story short, I mean, it's a brutal hard course. But I'm coming up 17 level par. So I've made a couple of bogeys, which obviously 10 was a tough one to make. 11's a hard hole for me. 14's quite a hard hole for me, because I've obviously got to play quite a long iron into a green, which really only you need to be hitting a relatively short iron to be able to control the spin and get yourself into a position on the right tier. Because again, you don't realize how slopey these greens are. They are incredibly slopey greens, and obviously very quick. So anyway, I've come down. Must tell you about 16, the par 3. So anyway, I played a 5-iron, pins back right, and I played it onto the right tier. Mr. Palmer's slightly long left, hard putt, and it's a massive gallery. As I said, we must have had probably 1,200 people just following our particular game. So whatever the gallery was for that particular hole, it's swelled by 1,200 following Palmer. I'd like to think it was following me, but it obviously wasn't. So anyway, Mr. Palmer's whacked this shot onto the back half, and he's got a putt first. So he's got about a 25, 28 footer. And I'm stood there, and again, what happens is the patrons recognize a good shot, or a good putt in particular, because they've seen over and over again people putting all round the hole, so they know whether a putt's a good putt or a bad putt. Anyway, Palmer's hit this putt, and it's climbed the hill, and it started to turn. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, do you know what? That's going to be close. And as the ball comes towards the hole, the hubbub starts to build and build and build. In it goes, makes 2. Palmer holding his putter aloft like this. Crowd are going absolutely bonkers. I thought it was bad enough on the first tee, but literally, even now, it gives me goosebumps relating this story because I couldn't hear anything other than a uniform, deafening sound. Even when I've been to football matches, I have never experienced anything quite like that, in that I could feel the sound through the soles of my shoes. It was absolutely unbelievable and lasted for 2, 3 minutes. It was
Wow.
deafening. Anyway, it's my turn, and I lip out for a 2 as well. God, if that had gone in, I can't imagine what everyone was saying. Anyway, we're walking to the 17th tee, which I'm going to relate to, and there's a guy in left-hand side. As Palmer's passing him, Arnie, you're the man, like this, which amused me because I never actually heard anyone say that in real life. And as I walk past, he goes, "And you're the man too." What's we're cracking up as we're getting on to 17th tee. David, my caddy, said to Palmer, Palmer's very deaf. He's got hearing aids in both ears. He said, Arnie, it's no wonder you need hearing aids if you're going to have that sort of reaction every time you play a world-class shot. So we all laugh about that as well. Anyway, Palmer blitzes one down. I hit a decent one down. Very hard tee shot, 17. Got trees left and right, and it's uphill, so you've got a lot of pressure. And again, I'm hitting quite a long club in. I'm hitting 3-iron again, and it just squeaks through the back edge, pins sort of back left, and I chip in for a 3, so I'm back to under par. Woohoo! And Palmer again comes, and the great thing about Palmer was he was enjoying my game as much as he was enjoying his own. And yeah, we were complimenting each other on shots, and it was just a great day. It was two mates going out to play golf on Augusta National, which is a bit surreal. But anyway, so me to tee off, hit one down there, and middle of the fairway again. Great, really good tee shot. Palmer's hit one down there, and I'm not quite sure what to play. I've either got to hit 5-iron hard or a 4-iron easy. Now, again, the hole's completely transformed now because even in 2004, I was hitting a full-on 5-wood.
Oh,
So
it's massive.
it was obviously playing significantly longer. But actually, what it did do is it brought the bunkers into play for the longer hitters. Obviously, we never forget Sandy Lyle playing his bunker shot out of on 18 to win the tournament. But it brought the bunkers into play, whereas now, I suppose it does now, because the guys are hitting insane distances. But I couldn't get it across the walkway in 2004. I was
My
just
goodness.
literally on the walkway, going across the fairway. So I'm hitting 5-wood full out to try and get it on the green, try and pitch it on the front and get it to scoot up. But anyway, so I've got to make a decision, and I choose 5-iron. Choose 4-iron, hit it easy. Of course, I don't bring the club face in to square it up quite enough. Finishes in the right-hand bunker. Splash out to about 5 feet, good bunker shot, and a lip out. So that finishes level par. So obviously we shake hands. I've shot level par. Mr. Palmer shot 75. So anyway, I ask when I go into the recorder's office if it's possible to have that card. Him signed it. They gave me a photocopy, which is not quite
Oh,
the same.
what a
They
shame.
keep all the cards, apparently.
Really?
Mm. I would love to have had that card.
Yeah, that'd have been a classic, wouldn't
Yeah,
it? That'd be
because
brilliant.
again, it relates the story as I tell it. So anyway, then I come out and they didn't really have a press center in those days. And literally I gave my sort of press interview, outside, sat on the chair underneath the beautiful tree outside the clubhouse, and I must have had, I don't know, 30 people, taking notes and, taking recordings and stuff like that, asking me, and I must have been there for 40 minutes. Loved every minute of it. Obviously, it was a great day anyway. But still to this day, I can remember every shot, every moment, the story, obviously, the number of stories that, sort of revolve around what went on. Um, it's, yeah, I've done other great things, obviously winning the amateur and the Eisenhower and stuff like that. But to me, that was the greatest day's golf I've ever had in my life. Because for all the reasons of, um, where it was, what it means to me, the situation in my career at that stage. Obviously an incredible experience. So I always look at it and I go, well, that to me is what it was all about. That's why I play golf. Um, so obviously, we then move on to 2004, and we've got I won the amateur really well. A 12-year split, never been done before, between winning the amateur. That was a Royal Troon, fantastic experience. Um, Played some of the best golf probably through a whole week that I've ever done. Um, Again, a fantastic golf course, fantastic golf course. And it meant more to me then from the point of view that I knew what it the rewards were. Couldn't wait to go back to Augusta again. And I did it slightly differently. Obviously, I was in a different situation. I was uh, the manager of a golf club, Kilworth Springs in the Midlands, and I had more time to be able to devote. I was playing a lot of golf in those days, so I was better prepared in some ways, and stayed in a house actually in Augusta itself, and I had, I don't know, 8 friends, one of which Colin Edwards, who was an international colleague of mine, to caddy for me, and could I have, or on reflection, would I have done things differently? Yes, I probably would. Um, but it was still a fantastic experience. I played with Bryony Baird and Tom Watson. I was lucky enough to play with Tom Watson a few times in my career. An amazing man. He lost his caddy literally the day before, his old
Oh
caddy,
dear. Oh yeah.
and he didn't turn up on the tee on time, and he was then escorted onto the tee, and we thought we were going to play a 2-ball.
My goodness.
But anyway, he did turn up. We teed off 10 minutes late, but and no one really told me at the time. I thought it was a bit strange, but no one actually told me at the time what had happened. It was only afterwards that I found out that he'd lost his caddy, which was obviously, he was an absolute gentleman, fantastic to play with under the circumstances of what had happened. And I shot uh, 75, 76. 76, I had a treble and a double, no birdies. And in the 75, obviously, I sort of had a bit of an up and down day, but 76 without any birdies was with a treble and a double. And I trebled the first. So it just shows you, yeah, that first hole always was going to be difficult for me. But a much longer, I mean, I was hitting 5-wood into the green. It's a I hit 5-iron into the green, missed it right, and didn't get up and down, and obviously started to make all sorts of hash ups. And Watson came across. He said, "Look, don't worry about it. You'll be fine." I said, "Look, don't worry about me. I've been around the block a few times. You don't need to worry about me." Now, whether that's came across wrong or not, but it didn't affect the way that I was going to play. Obviously, I was disappointed to start so badly, but that's just the way it goes. But because I think he didn't want me to shoot 90 to put him off, basically. But that wasn't really going to happen. But Augusta is so. The good thing is, to go back to 92, I shot obviously 72 first round. I was 30th or something, round about 30th after the first round. So I had quite a late draw, and it's funny how players completely different. But the second day, I fortunately birdied the last to shoot 79. So I actually haven't shot worse than 79 in any of the 4 rounds that I played, but I haven't made the cut. So does that matter? No, not really, I suppose. But when you see some guys who have quite catastrophic rounds, it's just a shame sometimes that you can appreciate what they're going through. It's a completely new experience. It's nerve wracking, etc., etc. As I say, a lot of the time, some people's first round can be pretty bad. Less so now because I think players are much more capable of playing that golf course because they hit the ball so far.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's the ultimate experience. I've always said to people, whatever happens, if you are a lover of golf, you must go to Augusta National and play some golf beforehand, and then go and watch the Masters. Make a trip of it. Go into Atlanta, play some courses around Atlanta or in that region, and then drive down to Augusta and go and watch one of the practice rounds. It is an experience you will never regret. You'll be able to get your souvenirs. You'll watch some of the shots played into course on the course that you've known all your life. So it's just the most extraordinary. It's not unreasonable. Getting a ticket's hard, but it is possible. Companies can get you tickets. But yes, it's an amazing experience, and it's something that you know I'd love to do again, even just to go back and walk those fairways again. I would love to do that, and follow. I don't know. Watch Justin Rose win the tournament would be one of my great emotional moments, because I think he's been so unlucky, and I've obviously known Justin since he was 15. I would love to see him win the Masters, but just to be able to go back there and see the clubhouse and how the course has changed, I'd love to do that. I absolutely would. But obviously I've been lucky to go twice, and I've got some souvenirs which are amazing, and I've been very fortunate indeed. And that is my favourites. I haven't been able to extol it as much as I would do, because so much went on that week. I wasn't really able to sort of tell it everything in the time that we've had, but it was just, and it goes by so quick. One thing I'll say to any amateur who qualifies: try and live for every second of that week, because you might never get another opportunity to go back. Some of the great pros have never been to Augusta.
I know, and I think the advice that Peter Alliss gave you, Gary, whether you felt that you adhered to it or not, I'm sure it was still felt like a blur, but you have taken the time to look around and take things in and remember it and savor it and treasure it the rest of your life. That's so good.
It's digitally, completely and utterly etched in my brain, because I can literally still visualize everything.
Yeah.
I can visualize it from pictures that I've seen that were taken by David Cannon, who's a good friend of mine, from Getty Images. And I can also see it from the personal experience of actually being there. I can still vividly remember all the various bits. The great thing about Augusta is I've got a picture with Jackton Stevens, who was the chairman of Augusta National in '92, and Arnold Palmer on the first tee. it is, it's just not, it's never been done that the chairman of Augusta National would come down and have a picture take. And I happened to give Jackton Stevens um, a gift to say thank you for um, inviting me to the Masters. And I think he was genuinely touched, genuinely touched. So he came down and had a picture taken with us, which was, again, another slightly surreal moment of that first tee experience. Um, But yeah, it's just just so many things. As I say, I could have been arrested on the first day I arrived, and been in jail for the night. What a story that would have been. But anyway, so it's one of those things where you just go forwards and go, well, if nothing else happened in my life, at least I've had that, and I've had some
Absolutely.
amazing things happen. Obviously winning the Eisenhower and winning the amateur twice, and lots of other stuff. Like the number of caps and interviews that I've had and people I play golf with and places I've been to. I was lucky enough, to meet a U.S. president in George Bush, the senior, when he came down to Sea Island for the Walker Cup, just prior to the Walker Cup. You know, Met the Queen, had an MBE. These things are just stuff that I treasure massively. I've got rid of a lot of my memorabilia now, which is sad in some respects, but I haven't got space for it all. I was always a collector of stuff. Um, and I look at it and I go, well, um, at least I've got those memories, and I hope I'm able to retain them. If I have Alzheimer's, one of the things that people will at least be able to ask me is, "What was Augusta like?" Because I swear to you, I'd be decimated if I ever forgot those two trips. Um, but the first one in particular is just every shot I can remember every shot.
Absolutely.
And just the experience, it's a shame in some respects I wasn't doing it in an era where they did interviews or showed my round on TV, because they didn't. I don't think I saw a single shot of mine on TV. And they didn't do recordings, and you only saw the back nine. Well, of course, they weren't going to show my back nine particularly. But having said that, if an amateur did what I'd done, they'd have been showing quite a lot of it
Yeah,
on
definitely.
Sky. It's slightly different era. Golf course is obviously completely different. It was way more beautiful in those days, because that pristine cutting of the fairways just looked amazing. Now it doesn't look quite as pretty. I always wondered whether they go back to the crisscross cutting for the members. I suppose they would do. But for the tournament proper, obviously they groom it from green to tee. Just to have been part of that tournament is just amazing. And I still love telling the story. I love telling the story.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for sharing it with me. And it's been a real privilege to hear it firsthand. Thank you.
Well, I've enjoyed it, and obviously, it's just, as I say, we scratch the surface invariably of things that I've been able to do within the game. But those particular trips were very, very special. As amateur champion, you get lots of benefits, but prior to the second one, we had the match, the Georgia Cup, which is the US amateur champion played the amateur champion on the Lakes course at the golf club at Jordan. He made an honorary member. So I had to play Nick Flanagan in this televised event, head-on match play, and I happened to play particularly well because Nick he's an Australian who won the US Amateur, so it was a bit surreal not playing an American. But again, I played particularly well that particular tournament, or that match. I managed to win 3 and 2, so my name's on the board in the golf club at Georgia, which and I can always go back there, which is rather nice. Yeah, so fantastic things that happen. When you win an amateur championship, it's just about being able to have the presence of mind to fully enjoy it.
Absolutely.
So, big piece of advice for anyone who wins the amateur in the future.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that story, Gary. It's been brilliant to listen to it firsthand. Thank you.
My pleasure. Not at all.
I'd like to thank Gary Wolstenholme for his support of the pod and for sharing his incredible master stories with us. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow Link by Golf on your favourite podcast platform, leave a review and share it with someone who loves golf and people's journeys. You can also find the show on Instagram at linkbygolf2024 for future episodes, clips and insights. I'm Ross McGuire. Thanks for listening.
Lomond Golf Tours have helped thousands of guests build bespoke golf trips to create a magical experience. Travel in style with our executive chauffeur travel, whether it's golf on a major championship venue or one of our hidden gems, 5-star accommodation or a boutique bed and breakfast, or is it whiskey tasting on a private boat? Lomond Golf Tours are here to help build the tour of a lifetime. Whether you're celebrating a special occasion or ticking it off your bucket list, embark on a trip that you'll remember forever. Visit www.lomondgolftours.com.